When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Hello, and welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship. My name is Tish Hamilton, and I have the distinct privilege of serving on the worship arts team. And I am so glad you have decided to take time on this day to join us for today's virtual service celebrating the natural world. If you happen to be here during our 9 a.m. Facebook Live premiere or our 11 a.m. YouTube premiere, I invite you to say hello in the chat function so we can say hello to you in real time. As always, if you'd like to find out more about our programming, you can visit us at our website at www.muuf.org. Again, I'm delighted to have you here. Thank you.
We light this chalice as a symbol of the enchantment in all of nature.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Parker. I've been a member of the congregation for about 20 years. I currently serve as chair of the Gateways Task Force, that's our capital project team, and I'm also a committee member for Building and Grounds. I was raised in West Denver with all of the wonderful access to the Rocky Mountains by a father who had grown up on a farm and loved being outside. So it's probably no surprise that many of my lifelong activities have been the kinds of things that got me outdoors and helped me enjoy them: hiking, camping, fishing, and in recent years, backpacking. And all of these experiences have helped me better understand that we are really a part of nature, not separate from it. Now, this really came home to me while backpacking during a drought last fall on the Appalachian Trail. On the high ridges where it runs, that year all of the streams have dried up, and on one stretch the only water for 10 miles was a tiny spring about half the size of a bathtub. I noticed when I approached it from footprints that it had been visited by deer and raccoon, and as I refilled my water bottle, I could see that it was presently inhabited by at least one tiny frog and a salamander. Well, needless to say, the water was tepid and fairly funky, but I recall being tremendously grateful for every drop. Water is life, and I felt privileged to share it with my fellow creatures. It's when I isolate myself, and that could be inside on my devices or just in my head, that I forget I too am an animal. Our inherent connection to nature, our animal aliveness, seems increasingly lost these days, and that's to our detriment and of course to the detriment of the world. Being outside dispels this fiction. I notice that being in my animal body, just using it, makes me feel alive, makes me feel right, makes me happy. And I'm not alone in that. On several occasions I've taken young men into the forest, and after a while I notice them spending no time on their devices, maybe beginning to throw a rock or two, and then there are a couple of logs they need to balance across, and even then quietly beginning to hum or sing to themselves. Now, the prophets have, of course, gone into the wilderness from time immemorial for inspiration or to hear God's voice. When I've gone into the wilds, what I've mostly heard are bird calls, squirrels chattering, that rustle of leaves, the sounds the brooks make, which are tremendously varied, but never God's voice. Unless, of course, that is the way she speaks to me in a manner that she understands I'll be able to comprehend. When I decided to spend a whole month backpacking on the AT last fall, I was hoping, I admit, for a transformational experience like Cheryl Strayed describes in her book Wild, or some sort of epiphany. But to be honest, nothing like that happened. Instead, what I discovered was the pleasure of slowing down to the speed of the trail. You know, at 2 miles an hour, there is no fast lane, and the distance you can drive in your car in 10 or 15 minutes takes me an entire day to cover. And when I permit myself in that instant, in that time, to just be there, it becomes its own sort of walking meditation, and I can be present for the little pleasures. Maybe a sight of that salamander on the trail, rarely the sound of a pileated woodpecker, the view of a fascinatingly gnarled tree, sometimes a rocky outcrop with those heroic vistas, but always the long green tunnel that beckons, something new, something different, something I haven't yet seen just around the next corner. I recall one instance in particular on a long trip. I took a mid-morning break to ease the strain on my shoulders, and sitting on a rock with my pack off in the dappled sunlight, I closed my eyes and in that instance experienced just an incredible sense of well-being, of rightness. Now, of course, sitting down, nothing hurt, but it seemed deeper than that. In that instant, I really didn't want or need anything. I was okay being just right there, right then. So nature's where I go to find renewal and inspiration, particularly in these difficult COVID times. So far this year, I've been out hiking on the trails about 60 times. And of course, it's also where I renew my spirituality, coming into contact with something that is so vastly bigger than myself, but something I know I'm a part of, and also something that is truly beyond my comprehension. But what about you? Take a moment of silence and consider, how do you enjoy, appreciate, and connect with nature?
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Life by Cynthia Rylant. Life begins small, even for the elephants. Then it grows. Beneath the sun and the moon. Life grows. Ask any animal on earth, what do you love about life? The hawk will say sky. The camel will say sand. The snake will say grass. The turtle may remain quiet. It has seen much in its 100 years. But the turtle loves life. How could it not, with so much rain on its back? Life is not always easy. There will probably be a stretch of wilderness now and then. But wilderness eventually ends. And there is always a new road to take. Remember this. In every corner of the world, there is something to love. And something to protect. And if, one day, it seems nothing beautiful will ever come your way again, trust the rabbit in the field, and the deer who crosses your path. Trust the wolf and the wild geese who will find their way back home. All these know something about life, that everything is changing. And it is worth waking up in the morning to see what might happen. Because life begins small and grows. The end.
Today's offering will be split 50-50 between the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship and the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. The NJEJA is an alliance of New Jersey-based organizations and individuals committed to working together to create healthy, sustainable, and just communities by eliminating environmental injustices in low-income and communities of color.
Spirit of the Trail. Please hold me and keep me, protect me from any harm that may befall me, and deliver me to wherever I am supposed to be at the end of the day. These words were said as a prayer every morning that I stepped onto the Appalachian Trail in 2019 as a hopeful thru hiker. They were an offering to nature and a hope that I'd be able to continue hiking yet again another day. While so much seemed out of my control when living out of my 30-pound pack for days on end, these words were a grounding. They inspired my attitude for the day. And they were slightly superstitious. You see, the trail is revered as a living, sentient being, one that you don't want to provoke, anger, or insult. Perhaps the same way that sailors perceive the ocean. It can giveth and it can taketh away, just like year 2020. While the trail provided water from springs, wild raspberries, a shade and a breeze on the hottest of days, it didn't provide the necessary nourishment needed to hike 20-mile days, nor did it provide the emotional comfort that we as humans take for granted when we aren't isolated. The people on the trail communities, and especially your trail family, often are the ones responsible for helping you maintain a positive state of mind when your feet have blisters and you have to put cold, wet socks on yet again for another day, or when you've just narrowly dodged lightning while hiking across a mountain ridge. Trail angels, people you've never met before, are happy to feed you a warm meal, provide you with a cold beer, give you a ride into town, refill your water, and motivate and cheer you on. Yet I had to remind myself, I was the one who pitched my tent night after night. I was the one who decided to push on for another day of miles. And I was the one, and it was my legs that propelled me up every inch in elevation. And oftentimes, when I got to the top and looked out over an incredible vista, I was alone. I got myself there. This year, while we have all struggled in one way or another due to COVID-19, bearing witness to violence and brutality against people of color, or the political rhetoric that has consumed many of us, we have managed to persist. We have allowed ourselves to thrive. We have learned new skills. We have challenged ourselves. We have confronted a most perilous time. So while things seem out of our control, remember, the strength you need mostly lies inside of you. Perhaps start with a grounding prayer. Spirit of 2020, please hold us and keep us.
You've probably noticed the Appalachian Trail winding through today's service. Did you know that the first section of the trail opened not that far from here back in 1923? 6 miles in New York between Bear Mountain and Harriman State Park. This summer, a young woman named Liz Anjos did the entire trail from Georgia to Maine. That's nearly 2,200 miles in 51 days, setting the woman's northbound speed record. Pretty cool, right? Now that is an adventure and an achievement that obviously requires stamina, determination, discipline, and grit. But what was it like mentally? What did she think about? Liz said, every day I would wake up and think, I don't know if I can do this again. And every night at the end of a long day, which sometimes stretched to 20 hours, she would collapse in her tent and say to herself, yay, I did it! And wow, isn't that an apt metaphor for these pandemic times? I think we can all relate to the feeling of waking up every day and saying, I don't know if I can do this again. And then making it to the end of a long day and saying, yay, I did it. And I think we can all relate to the desire to be outside, breathing in the earthy fall air right now in October 2020, in the midst of political, social, environmental turmoil. And I think we can relate to the desire to be outside right now in October, as Thoreau describes it, the month of painted leaves and sunset skies. If you've been on a hike or a walk in the woods lately, you've probably noticed that a lot of folks are feeling the call. Yes, the parking lots are crowded. But once you get on the trail, I love the casual camaraderie and conversations of chance encounters. From a safe social distance, of course. It's such a pleasure. Our Unitarian Universalist faith has a rich tradition of seeking the restorative power of nature. Combining movement and nature is a powerful spiritual practice. It's literally moving. Indeed, there are particular times when a wilderness experience can be most helpful to us, such as trauma and grief, as Florence Williams notes in her book, The Nature Fix. We all need a regular check-in for personal introspection and spiritual reflection. And so today, whether the sun is lighting up the golden leaves or the rain is making their rich color that much more vibrant, whether you are going on a hike or cracking open a window, take a deep breath in and let it out. Yay, you did it! As Thoreau notes, there is just as much beauty in the world as we are prepared to appreciate, and not to gain more.
Peace I ask of thee, O river, peace, peace, peace. When I learn to live serenely, cares will cease. From the hills I gather courage, visions of the day to be, strength to lead and faith to follow, all are given unto me. Peace I ask of thee, O river, peace, peace, peace. Peace I ask of thee, O river, peace, peace, peace. When I learn to live serenely, cares will cease. From the hills I gather courage, visions of the day to be, strength to lead and faith to follow, all are given unto me. Peace I ask of thee, O river, peace, peace, peace.
And now, in closing, some words from the Reverend Barbara Pescan. May the glory of the passing away of autumn lie about us fresh gold for a time. And when the dark comes and the cold, may we remember how today we stand in glory, how we walk in bounty heaped upon earth's dark carpet, how we move knee-deep in abundance. We are thankful. Blessed be, and may it be so. Go in peace.
I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe